In this video, I want to talk about making a live edge wood shelf with gas piping. Live edge wood shelving combined with gas pipe creates a super old world charm, but it gives it that kind of strong, unique look. We used 1.5 inch vertical grain pine with a live edge or a natural board edge, not a straight edge. The best part about it is we paid $15 for the board. When you're designing this stuff, I wanted my design so that the pipes would run way above the shelf a little bit and come a little bit below it. And the pipes themselves would actually go through, be drilled through with a hole through the shelving and run through them, and a union would actually hold the shelf in place from falling. And then the elbows would turn and it would terminate into the wall with end caps. Or flanges, they're called. You can source your pipe at any hardware store or plumbing store, and they come in different lengths as well as connections. For instance, there are elbows, T's, couplings, end cap, and wall flanges or floor flanges. Once I had my pipe, I went back in the shop to make my live edge gas pipe a reality. And the first thing I did was clean the pipes because they come dirty from the threading, cutting process with oil on them, as well as that the stores put sticky labels, price tags on them. So you'll need to clean this stuff up. And I used a wire wheel to remove the labels and a knife to scrape them off. But then I used acetone and a rag to clean the pipes from dirt and oil. Just use good ventilation and wear gloves when dealing with acetone. It's nasty. For sizing my shelves, we determined we wanted the shelves to kind of mirror the width of the back of the toilet, which is about 22 inches. So we cut our boards at 22 inches, and then I used a sharp chisel and started removing most of the bark from the edges, just using the chisel to kind of chisel it off until there's a brown residue remained. I used an alternator between a chisel, a scraper, and a utility knife to kind of scrape that residue off. And then when I was done, I applied a little bit of 80 grit sandpaper to remove the last stubborn fragments of that stuff. One thing I noticed is that there was the edge was brighter and the cut ends were brighter than the rest of the wood. It was lighter in color. The patina wasn't the same. So in order to simulate an aged look, I took a carpenter's pencil and a utility blade, and I basically just scraped the graphite onto the wood. Once I had a good sprinkling, I then just used my hand and smeared the graphite into the wood grain, creating kind of a dirty, aged patina. And I also did this to the ends of the boards and any part of the board that I considered too light. Then it was time to drill the hole. I assembled my flange pipes and elbows, and I used them to establish where the pipe would enter the shelf. That location ended up being 3 3/4 from the wall, and for proportion purposes, I measured 3 3/4 in from the wall and 3 3/4 in from the edge. I made my marks with a combination square, and then I set up with drilling the holes. For drilling the holes, I used a 7/8 Forstner bit to drill 4 clean, uniform holes. And guys, in retrospect, I wish I had pushed the pipe holes a little bit more to the edge. I think that might have allowed me a little bit more space, but I like the look anyway. It turned out okay. Once the holes were drilled and I oriented my live edges out, and I started to assemble the pipe, and I just put things lightly with hand tightening. I also try to rotate the wall flanges so that all the holes line up in the same place. When you go to mount this on the wall, you want to make sure that the shelf doesn't rack. And what I mean by that is the pipes can do this and the shelves can do this. So you have to kind of keep things plumb. I used a level on the shelf, and I used a torpedo level on the pipe. It had a magnet on it, and it was easy. I didn't have to hold it. A couple of things you want to do when you're mounting things. First of all, you want to locate the height of your unit. Once we held it up until the client goes, yeah, right there. And once we found out that height, we just made a light little pencil mark, and then I drew a level line with a level line. And then I determined the center of the wall and the center of the shelf. Center points allow me to line those points up so that I know that I'm centered on that installation. The next thing is a plumb line. You can either draw a plumb line to get your pipes right, or you can just use a magnetic torpedo like I did and plumb that pipe to get you, making sure you're on the center line, on your level line, and then your plumb. You can also, don't worry about marking the wall, because you can use a pencil with an eraser to erase those pencil marks and follow up later with a little bit of dish soap and water. Once everything is ready, use a pencil and mark your holes. And you know, for fastening this to the wall, if you can't go into studs, you want to use some sort of heavy duty toggle bolts or mogul bolts. I use these 70-pound rated capacity fasteners, but they required me to drill a hole into the wall and then insert the fasteners. So you really do need a helper. It's almost a two-person job unless you fabricate a shelf or something to hold this. So here's a tip. When you're putting those fasteners and screws in, just screw things in lightly. Don't over tighten them, and then check all your levels, get it just right, then tighten them and take turns and work your way around. This is an old charm look with a modern flair, and the live edge looks great. The old pipes make it look like it's always been there, and I love the look, and the client was happy. The screws were a little bright, so we used a black marker to darken the screws, a Sharpie. You can try to find different color Sharpies to do this, but look, bottom line is projects like this are fun, easy, and cost effective. The materials for this entire project cost under $75. So just consider that when you're doing your gas pipe projects or your live edge shelf projects. I'm Rob Robillard. Please subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you at the next project. Take care.